The second half of our post-Senior Bowl mock draft is coming your way today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'd like to issue a big thank you, welcome, and shout out to our everydayers, those of you who make us your first listen and don't miss a single episode. We appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Joe, happy National Super Bowl Media Week to you here on the show. It's all the press availability questions making the rounds, and Patrick Mahomes getting asked who he'd pick to be on his fantasy team with a kid reporter, and all that jazz is happening. All the pomp and circumstance in Las Vegas. We had a player attacked by a coyote already in Las Vegas. I don't know what it is.
No, I didn't see that.
All the weird and wacky headlines of Super Bowl week.
Yeah. Wake me up on Sunday when it's kickoff. That's when I'll get interested in all that. So,
well, we're keeping our focus football related here on the show and not on the pomp and circumstance of Super Bowl week. We have a mock draft that we are halfway through that we are going to finish here today on the show. We did picks 1 through 16 yesterday. I was odds. You were evens.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite pick from the first 16.
My favorite pick from the first 16.
Ideally one of yours, because that would be bad if I had your favorite pick.
Well, I don't know. I think the two. I can't do that. It's Harrison to the Cardinals.
Double dip. Here we go.
No, it's Harrison to the Cardinals, man. It's the best player in the draft going to a team that has a massive need at wide receiver for a quarterback that's, looking to really reestablish himself in terms of his status in the league. I think it's that.
And that came at 4th overall. So job well done by Joe Marino to get that box checked. I like Joe Alt to the Titans at 7.
Yeah.
Was probably my favorite pick that I made. But
I feel like that's going to happen. Like, I feel like go ahead and get the jerseys if you're a Titans fan.
Right? I mean, who knows? Who knows what happens in the 6 picks in front of you, trading around and all that kind of stuff. So who knows? Yeah. But we had 3 quarterbacks going first: Chicago, Washington, and New England going Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison, and Malik Neighbors. 2 wide receivers to the Cardinals and Chargers. Then we had Roma Dunze, a 3rd wide receiver in a row, with the 6th pick to the New York Giants, courtesy of Joe. Joe Alt to the Titans, Dallas Turner, pass rusher to the Falcons, Brock Bowers, tight end to the Chicago Bears at 9, Olu Fashanu, offensive tackle, Penn State to the New York Jets at 10, Terry and Arnold, which is another one of my favorite picks, corner from Alabama to Minnesota at 11, quarterback J.J. McCarthy to the Broncos at 12, defensive lineman Byron Murphy, hot name, Texas Longhorns to the Raiders at 13, Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle to the Saints at 14, Cooper DeJean, corner, defensive back to the Indianapolis Colts at 15, and then another hot name, Jackson Powers Johnson, center from Oregon to the Seattle Seahawks at pick 16, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, are now on the clock at pick 7. As we open the second half of this Draft Dudes 2024 post-Senior Bowl mock draft. Not our first 2024 mock draft, but our first mock draft in 2024. Jacksonville, man. Speak of Jackson Powers Johnson spot.
Yeah, I screwed some teams with right here. You look at Pittsburgh, you look at Miami. Those have been great spots. Dallas for JPJ.
Yeah. So, and then Jacksonville obviously we're expecting Josh Allen back on the franchise tag, Trayvon Walker. I'm going to go with, I think, another hot name. This was a Senior Bowl performer who really seemed like they helped themselves quite a bit. I'm going to go with Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback, Toledo, to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, this guy's a big-time dude. He can blaze as far as he can run well, comfortable in man coverage. Obviously, you have one big physical corner there in Tyson Campbell. Just Jacksonville really filling out that defense. Give me Quinyon Mitchell to Jacksonville at 17.
The Cincinnati Bengals here at number 18, and I think they've been in search of some more dynamic interior defensive linemen. DJ Reader's an expiring contract. They've paired him with BJ Hill. It's a good duo, but I think they're looking for some more up-the-field ability there. They love to pick defensive linemen. We're going to go Johnny Newton, the defensive tackle from Illinois. I think he can give them what they maybe were hoping they were going to get out of Zachary Carter, pair him with BJ Hill. If they're unable to bring back DJ Reader, they've got a nice answer here, a nice combo in Hill and Newton, and I think that interior pass rush ability kind of been missing here in Cincinnati. They get that in Johnny Newton.
All right, which puts the LA Rams on the clock. And I think this is going to be an edge spot. I'm tempted by some of the offensive line talent. Obviously, they have found the ability last year to run the ball. They've got the weapons in the passing game with a veteran quarterback in Stafford. But you got Michael Hoyt as a player who's kind of flashed for them a little bit. I believe he's a restricted free agent, so he should be back. You got a bunch of young guys in Nick Hampton, Oshwan Mathis, and Byron Young, who are all rookies from last year's draft class. But I look at a guy like Jared Verse, who's sitting here on the board, and he's tempting, but I'll go with the LA guy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Latu, best pass rusher. There's some medical concerns here, but what a home run fit this would be. And, the ways that they've used Hoyt as a guy who can stand up and then rush from a three-point stance, Latu's got all of that ability as well. So I think that's a home run value for the Rams here at 19. And we'll run that card in with Latu staying in LA.
Man, if you want to go edge, there's some nice value right here. To be able to pick at 19 between Latu and Verse is a heck of a spot to be. I got the Steelers here at number 20. They don't need an edge rusher. I think they need either interior offensive line or corner. Interior offensive line being the center. I think I've seen enough Mason Cole. We got to move on. We can't do this anymore. We can't go to war with Mason Cole, man. I think Steelers fans get that. But I think the value here is at corner for them. Where Pat Pete, I think he's cooked as a corner. Levi Wallace, he played a lot for them, but I think it's time to be done there. They have Joey Porter Jr. Let's find him a running mate, and I think there's some candidates here that make sense. It feels like the name is Nate Wiggins, Clemson corner. Mm-hmm. There's other guys, McKinstry out of Alabama, more toolsy. Rakestraw from Missouri is a nice talent as well. But we know that the Steelers tend to go with the bigger schools, and not that any of those schools are small. I feel like Nate Wiggins would be a good fit there to pair with JPJ and have an answer there.
Which puts the Dolphins on the clock at 21. And I think you consider where this team's most prominent needs are. Expect Christian Wilkins to leave in free agency, but the two guys that I would consider as interior defensive linemen are off the board with Murphy, who went at 13, and then with Johnny Newton, who just came off to Cincinnati at 18. I think the offensive line, I don't expect Connor Williams to be back with this team next year, so you have a needed center, but Jackson Powers Johnson off the board, are you going to have yourself in consideration in the 20s for Zach Frazier from West Virginia? That feels a little early. Graham Barton maybe is a guy who's played tackle. But they also have a need at guard, be it with Robert Hunt, who I do expect they will re-sign, but then the left guard spot as well. And you got a lineman here who I think is a really good fit from a stylistic standpoint with what the Dolphins need to be more of in order to be a more complete offense, and that's Taliese Fuaga from Oregon State. So they have Teron Armstead. They have Austin Jackson, who they gave a new contract to, but Fuaga, some people think he's a guard. I think the fact that he's position flexible to potentially play guard early on, and then once Teron Armstead moves on, you could potentially play him at offensive tackle as a long-term fit there. Really good value, and they just need point A to point B blockers up front. And I think they have that with a couple of guys, but they need more of it, and Fuaga is a really good value here at 21.
Yeah, I've seen some top 10 for Fuaga. That's a heck of a steal for Miami here. Even if there is a position switch, you find a spot for him, man. He's going to make that offense even better. All right, we got some more coming up. Obviously, the Eagles on the other side of it, Texans, Cowboys. So stick with us. But when you're hiring for your small business, you want to be certain that you have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. And hiring's easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats right now and might not have the time or resources to hire. Well, thankfully with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. And they even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And folks, if you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. And I'll be honest with you, people ask, well, what's your favorite part of the Super Bowl? It's the game, right? People are talking about Usher and Reba McEntire commercials. I just want to watch the game. I want to see somebody go out there and win the Super Bowl. Speaking of wins, FanDuel has so many different ways for you to win, and maybe 2 or 3 times on Super Bowl Sunday, because not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. And if you're a new customer, check it out. Join today, and you'll get a $200 bonus bet if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All right, Joe. That puts you on the clock with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, we're got a little corner run here. We had Mitchell to Jaguars. We had Wiggins to the Steelers. Kyle, when I watched the Eagles, man, I saw a really struggling player in James Bradbury. Yeah, the wheels fell off, brother. Fell off in a big way. We're going to give him a nice young option here. This is going to be the Ennis Rakestraw Jr. spot, the Missouri corner, physical player. You know that they're going to like that. They got to have their corners at tackle, and they need answers here. And of course, you know, not only is Bradbury certainly plateaued, but Darius Slay's not getting any younger. Time for us to get younger at corner with Ennis Rakestraw.
Really like that fit. I will go with the Houston Texans, who are picking now at 23. I actually really like this fit for Houston relative to the strength of the player, relative to a general need. It's not a massive need for Houston based off of the growth that they saw from Nico Collins and what Tank Dell gave you. But you have a big body guy, Noah Brown, who's an expiring contract. How about Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU as a big-bodied, vertical playing guy to go with Nico Collins, to go with that passing attack with what you obviously got from CJ Stroud this year for Houston. So I like that fit quite a bit for the Texans. I think it's a great fit for Thomas from a strengths perspective. That's a pretty easy one for me.
Yeah, I dig it. I watched Jaden Daniels over the weekend, and 8-11. Those guys are good, man. Those guys are good receivers. I got the Dallas Cowboys here at number 24, and I want to go to the interior offensive line here for a couple of reasons. First of all, Tyler Biadasz is an expiring contract. I'd be willing to move on there. But also you have Tyler Smith, and Tyron Smith's expiring contract, and if you don't bring him back, that puts him to left guard, and you need a left guard. So I think you need an interior player here, particularly at center. And I think I'm going to go Graham Barton, a Duke interior offensive lineman. It's a transition, right? He's been a college left tackle, but he's kind of in that Peter Skoronski mold where you feel like he can play a number of spots, including center. And so even if he can't play center, we need an answer at left guard. I think this is where they need to solidify things up front because they have so much talent on that offensive line. But when you got tomato cans, man, you kind of ruin the best players that you have. So let's get that solidified with Graham Barton.
He's a lot more dynamic than Skoronski, too, in my opinion. I think he's more positional, flexible. I think he's more dynamic. And Skoronski going in the top 12 versus this player being here at 24 is awesome value. I think it's a testament to the offensive line depth of this year's class at the top.
Dude, I've got 5 more guys that I'm willing to slot in the first round here. So
you can make it 4 because we're going to pick one here for Green Bay at pick number 25. We are going to go with Amarius Mims, offensive tackle from Georgia. I mean, this dude kicks butt big time. 6'7", 330 pounds. Not the most experienced guy in the class, but the tools are off the charts. And for Green Bay, they obviously have the Bakhtiari transition looming. You have Elgton Jenkins. You have John Runyon as an expiring contract. So there's some flux on that offensive line. And amidst all that, Zach Tom is a player who I think could play just about any spot that you wanted to pencil him in on. So we're going to take the most talented guy left in this stage, and that's tackle Mims from Georgia.
I feel like I got a unique spot here with Tampa Bay. I wrote down their needs as interior offensive line, safety, and wide receiver. But sometimes there's just a player on the board that you feel like shouldn't be there, and that's how I feel about Jared Verse, the edge rusher from Florida State.
Okay.
I feel like he's got to come off here. I know that they have Shaq Barrett and obviously nice player. They got Yaya Diaby, who looks like a nice young pass rusher. But I don't put it past Jason Light to just go pick a player like this, right? They're always thinking about that defense and that defensive line, those front seven players. I think Jared Verse is just too dynamic of a talent to be around at pick 26. We're gonna turn this car in and just legitimately go BPA because I feel good. Like I said, interior offensive line, wide receiver, safety. I feel like we're gonna find answers there on day 2. We're not gonna find Jared Verse on day 2. We're turning in the card.
Yeah, which puts the Cardinals on the clock at pick 27. Joe, you picked for them the first time around. They had Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to go on the perimeter once again. We'll go on defense. Kool-Aid McKinstry at corner is available. It's a big-bodied corner with ball skills. They need some help at corner. I think this is a kind of a merge of general best player available, also with positional value and an area of need as well for Arizona. So that one's pretty straightforward for me. McKinstry to Arizona.
Yeah, I thought about McKinstry for Pittsburgh. I think that would be one, corner like that would make a lot of sense.
Fit for them opposite Porter.
You got to feel like if you are Pittsburgh, Philly, Arizona in this range, the corners that could be there, looking pretty good. All right, folks, I'm going to pick for the Bills on the other side of it, so be sure to stick with us. But, folks, I'm obsessed with DoorDash. Convenience of DoorDash is unmatched. We're all busy people, right? We're all trying to find a little extra time. Sometimes it can be challenging to get to the grocery store. It can be challenging to find time to make dinner. Well, let DoorDash handle those things for you. They will bring you food right to your front door from your favorite local restaurant. So bring you groceries. They'll bring you something from the gas station. They'll bring you something from the convenience store. So check it out. Get yourself some more time back and allow that DoorDash app to be a very helpful resource in your life like it is for me. Got a deal here if you haven't used DoorDash before. Get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCK23. Subject to change. Terms apply. Again, that's 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCK23. Subject to change. Terms apply. Passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
All right, Joe. The Mafia on the clock at 28.
Yeah.
Fell the way you wanted.
It did in some ways. If Jared Verse was there, let me just tell you, I'd have picked him. I just would have. I would have done that for the Bills. But instead, I get to go to the need that I think is the most pressing. I think you look at the Bills, it's wide receiver, defensive line, safety. That's where the needs are. And you got to get yourself a wide receiver here. And I think you need a field stretcher. You need somebody that can really allow Josh Allen to be better down the field with some of the vertical stuff, because they have good underneath guys in Kincaid and Shakir and hopefully Diggs. I think you need somebody to lift the roof a little bit. I think the best vertical receiver in this class is Troy Franklin out of Oregon, the wide receiver. He can take the top off the defense. He's got that down the field speed. I think that's what the Bills need to improve their spacing and allow Josh Allen's arm talent, where he has access to the entire field, be more on the menu for him. You saw that against Kansas City. They didn't have the explosive plays. I think Troy Franklin gives them that.
That's good marriage of fit and need and value. The same can be said for where the Detroit Lions are going here, pick number 29. And you might argue that more in the way of pass catchers would be on the menu here. But I think Detroit's DNA is their DNA, and their DNA is butt kickers up front, right? And you got some expiring contracts between Jonah Jackson and Graham Glasgow. The interior offensive line has some flux for them. Also, their swing tackle Dan Skipper's an expiring contract as well. So I look at who's available, and Troy Fautanu from Washington as somebody who a lot of people think will play guard at the next level, but has played tackle and can play tackle, and I think should be in conversation for some teams to be a tackle. But for Detroit, I'm drafting him to start at guard, and I think he's very much what you would want on that offensive line. They have for several seasons been one of the most invested teams in the offensive line. It's really started to pay dividends as this team has turned the corner and as they get ready to potentially bid farewell to a couple veterans. Fautanu is a home run fit for Detroit. So I like that quite a bit for them at 29.
I've got the Ravens here at 30. They're a really interesting team to me, and I think this board falls really well for them. Both their guards, Zeitler and John Simpson, are expiring contracts. They got a lot of expiring contracts. Matt Abweek, Patrick Queen, Odell. I mean, they got a lot of guys here. This is tough. Okay. I think Clowney's an expiring contract. Okay. Do I give them an interior offensive line option, or do you give them an edge rusher? And wide receiver is kind of a sneaky need as well.
Mm-hmm. I like the edge group here for them.
I think I do too. I'm going to go Chop Robinson, the edge rusher from Penn State. I think he's kind of in their mold. They like dynamic athletes. I mean, Chop certainly has that. Still working on his pass rush arsenal, but there's a bag of tools here that is very, very intriguing. And I think the Ravens, like I said, there's a lot of different ways that they can go here, but I think making sure that they have that edge rush talent is really important for what they want to be as a defense. We can get into your offensive line options later. We can get wide receiver later. We can get safety later. I think you're going to run out of edge rushers, and I think they got to take advantage of that here with Chop Robinson.
Oh, which puts Kansas City on the clock at 31. And I could go wide receiver. If you had a bunch of wide receivers, I could go offensive line too. We considering their offensive tackle situation. They're obviously locked in for Juwan Taylor for at least another year after that 4-year, $80 million contract that they gave out. But Donovan Smith was here on a 1-year deal. You got J.C. Latham on the board at offensive tackle. You got Jordan Morgan on the board here. I'm kind of filibustering to decide what direction.
That BYU tackle, whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce.
Kingsley Suamayata, I believe, is how that's pronounced.
Sounds good.
By the way, not a need for Kansas City, but Christian Hayes, the guard from Connecticut, I watched him recently.
Yeah,
I'm like big time fan.
Some
of him.
fans there.
Yeah. I feel like wide receiver is probably the proper play for Kansas City when you consider Rashee Rice has kind of come into his own. I know a player who's a really, really good route runner and has really good hands that I feel like could really develop a lot of chemistry with Patrick Mahomes is Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver out of Georgia. So I'm going to make him the pick here at 31.
Ooh, I was thinking you're going to go Roman Wilson.
I thought about Roman Wilson. I thought about A.D. Mitchell from Texas too.
Yeah. There's options, which is good for them. Okay, I've got the last pick here. It's the San Francisco 49ers. And for those of you who are upset that the 49ers are picking 32 and the Chiefs are 31, I think it just comes down to the 49ers. They're the record, and the 49ers are the favorites in the game. So, spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure we're both going to pick the Chiefs to win the game. We'll get to that on Thursday. But the 49ers, I think what they have to do here is go edge rusher. They traded for Chase Young. I'm not sure about that. Randy Gregory, right? Like not really kind of working out for them. They've had some investments. Drake Jackson, I'm not sure he's an every down player. I think they're going to want another edge rusher here. We're going to go Darius Robinson, the edge from Missouri. Really a tantalizing player. I think you and I have both spent time with Darius Robinson over the last couple of years, and you recognize the toolbox, but you're looking for more application. I think that happened this year. A buzzy name going into the Senior Bowl. I think he's coming out with some first-round buzz. I think this is an appropriate spot for them to get him and, make sure that they got a guy opposite of Bosa, and I feel like they've threw a lot of darts this year for that, and Robinson can give them that answer.
There you go. Well, that is our 2024 post-Senior Bowl NFL mock draft, alternating picks. Joe, I think that means next time you have odds, I have evens.
Yeah.
Which the next time we do this will be post-combine, correct?
Yeah.
That's our next one on the schedule?
Yep.
So everybody, you guys got about a month, and then you'll get your next one. And then we're off and running hot and heavy into draft conversation and content after the middle of March. But this is a great time to kind of stop and take a peek as we get ready to get into our pro scouting and look at the free agent class that lies ahead. We hope you enjoyed this dive into the 2024 first round. We certainly always have fun with the mock drafts. That's our bread and butter. It's where we kind of got started in the space, and it's fun to go back in there and dip your toes in. And it's still new to us both for this cycle. With where we're at. So make sure you follow along for the entire offseason process. It's on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You can find Locked On NFL Scouting. I'm Kyle Krabs. He's Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day, and we will be back again tomorrow with more NFL and NFL draft convo.